The worst teacher I ever had was my middle school English teacher, Mr. Zellerman. He would drone on and on in the most monotone voice. I don't know if he said a word that entire year that he didn't read out of a textbook. Every time I went to that class, I struggled to stay awake. I mean, that man's voice sounded like chloroform. And when I think about it now, it seems so absurd, because English is one of my favorite subjects. I'm a writer who spends most of his time learning about the same things that Mr. Zellerman talked about. So why is it that I was motivated and interested to learn writing on my own, but I could barely stay awake when Zellerman was talking about the exact same thing? Zellerman did not ignite my curiosity. My name's Damian Barton, and today we're going to talk about curiosity, and we'll go over 3 ways you can become just a little bit more curious. Before we can get into that, we need to look at what curiosity is. In Nemec and McGrath's book, The Power of Character Strengths, they say that to be curious is to explore and discover, to take an interest in ongoing experiences for its own sake. It's fulfilling to journey towards an answer, to engage in a new experience, or to learn a new fact. Curiosity is when you take a different route than you normally do, just to see what it's like. It's when you try a new show instead of rewatching The Office for the 100th time. It's when you try out that new Thai restaurant or spend hours on Wikipedia trying to find out if Napoleon Bonaparte actually did get attacked by a giant group of bunny rabbits. He did. Google it. They go on to say that your curiosity leads you to take an active interest in ongoing life experiences where you may be ready to explore virtually anything: new people, new situations, and work. When we aren't curious enough, we seem like we're tired, like we're not paying attention. We're not engaged with what's in front of us. So if we were at work or we're in a romantic relationship and we're not curious, we're just on autopilot. You're just going through the motions. Things are mundane, they're boring, which makes you disengage. You can tell when someone isn't curious because of their passive body language. They're going to be looking away, their eyes will be glazed over. Maybe they're staring off into space. Anyone who's ever taken a class with a boring, monotone teacher like Mr. Zellerman knows this feeling. They go on to say that it's also important to make sure that you're not suppressing your curiosity in a situation where it might actually turn out to be helpful to you and to others. Some people dampen their curiosity in situations where there's a strong authority figure in charge, or where they feel anxious, or in situations where they're expected to follow directions instead of asking questions. So when you're in English class and you have no interest in what's being taught, you're just expected to follow the rules to get your good grade and get out, you're going to disengage. You're going to be bored. But if you have a teacher asking questions, they make a really cool lesson plan out of the student's interest, they're going to create this level of engagement, this curiosity. When we have too much curiosity, we can be seen as nosy or intrusive. Young kids do this all the time. When a little kid won't stop asking why, they're overly curious. Now, in a child situation, they should be overly curious. Kids don't know anything yet. They still have to learn everything to make their way through the world. They have a lot of information to learn. They need to know the most random of stuff. What's an elephant? Why does a light bulb turn on? There are lots of questions that need answering. But if we as adults do this in the wrong situation, we just annoy the people around us. If you were at the DMV and you kept asking the woman behind the counter, "What's on your desk? Hey, what's that form? Do you like that form? Do you like working here? Why is that? How do you get this job in the first place?" Then we're going to annoy the woman. The right amount of curiosity can lead to a great conversation or finding out about new things, but the overuse of it can make us appear as being too nosy. Just like with any emotion, you need to find the right balance. Psychology researcher Evan Polman and his colleagues set out to conduct a series of experiments to see how raising people's curiosity would affect their choices. Let me ask you, which would you rather have? A fortune cookie or a fortune cookie dipped in chocolate and sprinkles? 80% of the control group chose the chocolate dipped cookie. Now, what if I told you that the plain fortune cookie had a fortune that would tell you something the researchers already knew specifically about you. It was specifically designed just for you. Which cookie would you choose now? Now, before they asked this question, 80% chose the chocolate-dipped cookie. But after they asked this curious question, 71% chose the plain cookie. That's almost a complete shift in people choosing the healthier option over the more enticing option. That is a dramatic statistical change. The researchers did not stop there. They did a whole series of these curiosity experiments. In one experiment, they were able to increase the use of stairs in a university building by nearly 10% by posting trivia questions near the elevators promising the answer in the stairwell. In another, they increased the purchase of fresh produce in a grocery store by 10% by placing placards with a joke on them and printing the punchline on bag closures. So what's going on here? Why would someone take the stairs or buy radishes and apples just to get the answer? Well, Dr. Polman says, people really have a need for closure when something has piqued their curiosity. They want the information that fills the curiosity gap, and they will go to great lengths to get it. The curiosity gap is the space between what we know and what we want to know. It's the space between the setup for a joke and the punchline, the space between the question and the answer. A curiosity gap is created when we know just enough information without knowing the full picture. You know when you're on the internet and you see a headline that says, "You'll be shocked to see this," or 10 things they don't want you to know about. Polman says that these headlines aim to exploit the curiosity gap by providing just enough information to make readers curious, but not enough to satisfy their curiosity without clicking through to the linked content. So designers, teachers, marketers can all use this curiosity gap to encourage you to make healthy choices like taking the stairs or buying fresh produce or being interested in class. Or they can encourage unhealthy choices like getting you to waste hours on clickbait to drive up their view counts. The curiosity gap is a powerful tool. It's time for the
takeaway tip.
In Nemick and McGrath's book, The Power of Character Strengths, they have a few fantastic questions we can ask ourselves to spark our curiosity and more regularly implement it into our own lives. What are you most curious about? And with which people or in what circumstances do you feel most comfortable or encouraged in expressing that curiosity? When we know who or what creates the right setting for us to be curious, we can put ourselves in that position when life is just feeling stuck. We can refer to this game plan to tell us what makes us curious. What are you interested in? And who piques that interest? Who makes you more curious about that thing? That's where you should be going when you need some curiosity. Were you a curious child or adolescent? How has that curiosity been affected by growing up? If it has changed over time, why is that? Adulthood requires us to act in a very responsible, orderly way. But when we were kids, we didn't have the same expectation and structure. We were given the freedom to explore, to play, to be curious about random things that seem trivial in our later years. Why and how has that curiosity changed for you? This next part is an activity. Either pick a new food or restaurant to have for dinner, or drive a different route home to explore a new area near where you live. What's around you that you just haven't noticed yet? We can get stuck in our day-to-day routines when we just don't take the time to try something spontaneous, something new, something we're curious about. Dig out that takeout menu that's collecting dust in your bottom drawer, or go explore some part of town you've never seen just to see what's there. You never know the good things that you're just leaving on the table by not pursuing your curiosity. So to summarize, curiosity is when we explore and discover to take an interest in an ongoing experience for its own sake. When we underuse curiosity, we can become disinterested. When we overuse curiosity, we can appear as being too nosy. We can create curiosity in other people to encourage them to perform a behavior by utilizing the curiosity gap. And if you feel stuck in autopilot mode, you can use Nemick and McGrath's questions and activity to get yourself feeling more curious. So what's that thing that piques your curiosity? What's that thing that makes you most interested? Leave your answer in the comments below. If you want to take part in the Barton Blueprint's mission to destigmatize mental health The most helpful thing you can do is like and subscribe, and share this episode with your friends and family. The more people who share, the faster this information is going to get out into the world to the people who really need it. Also, if you liked the show and want more information, go ahead and follow us on all of our social media. There's a bunch of extra content like infographics of some of the takeaway tips, as well as some fantastic mental health quotes by many of the most notable names in the field. The links are down in the description. If you want to learn more about curiosity, I cannot recommend enough The Power of Character Strengths. It's a very well structured, very practical, easy to use guide. You can find the link in the description below. And as always, thank you for taking care of each other and taking care of yourself. I'll see you next week.